Well, welcome back to One Audacious Move, where I and hopefully you reanalyze our life week to week, turning over every stone to figure out if we're doing what we can with the time that we're given to enact the most beautiful form of ourself in the world. Are we doing what we want to be doing in our life? If not, we need to be taking one audacious move. And the truth is, no matter how aligned you are with your purpose in life, there is always something that we can be working on. That's not a bad thing. It's not like it's this anxiety driven, clawing, trying to turn over every stone and figure out what you can transform in your life to become more aligned so that you can finally have peace. Hopefully, you have peace in your life with who you are and where you're at now, but you're not accepting the comfort of that as the only reality that you should be living in. We're humans, we're meant to grow. And so I want us every single week to be thinking about what it means to take an audacious move in your own life, in my life, taking stock of who we are, where we're at in life. What can we do to change that so that we are more excited about the life that we're living? I want to start this week's episode off with a question for myself, a question to you. What are you supposed to do whenever you're a product of your own tendencies in this world, but you have dreams that require something different of you? I'm going to say that one more time, but in a slightly different way. What are you supposed to do whenever you are stuck in the mannerisms and the way that you tend to do things in this world, but you have dreams that require more of you than who you are now and the way that you act? What are you supposed to do amidst that? Have you ever run into that feeling in your life? I know I have. I think that I run into that feeling more often than not as I go through each day of my life, each week of my life, as I reflect back on another year gone. I think about the way that I've chosen to live my life that day. Let's just take a day, for example, because truth be told, I am pretty microscopic with how I move through life and analyze all the movements that I do. But that doesn't mean that I do it perfectly, because I am very much a human. I'm a product of my past. No matter how big of goals that I have in my life, I still am who I am because of the way that I've lived my life up until this point. And so the dreams are a future version of myself that will be acquired, hopefully, through growth. But as I go through life, each day as I go through and do things during my day, whether it's the choice of sitting down and working or taking a break, whether it's the choice of eating unhealthy food or eating healthy food, of going to bed on time, to put the phone down and stop doom scrolling, I'm constantly confronted with that choice, and you are too, of how you're going to move through life. And a lot of the times, the way that we move through life is based off of our own predisposition to doing things. So how do we break that cycle? Because for me, as I go through life and I see a dissonance between who I want to be and who I am, with my personality type, that's really depressing. I recently just got into running back a couple months ago. Basically, long story short, somebody told me that I probably couldn't run a marathon having no prior running experience, that I couldn't run a marathon in a 10 to 12 week time span of going from no running to running full-fledged. And knowing myself, that's kind of a challenge in a way, saying that I can't do something. So I was like, well, I'm going to do a marathon now. So I started training, and here I am. I started off on a treadmill in the gym. That's just where I felt more comfortable. I'm used to going to the gym and working out, doing lifts and things like that. But running, that was a little bit different. So I started off as easy of a segue into running as I could and started running on the treadmill. Now, running on the treadmill for me is really boring. I mean, I'm just staring at the exact same thing. There's probably news or some corny sitcom or sports on the TV in front of me, and I don't care about sports. And so I'm kind of left to the devices of my own thoughts, just staring ahead at the stationary foreground in front of me, or I listen to things. And there was one particular day where I was listening to a podcast and I was running, and this was a particularly long run for myself this day. It was an 11-mile run, the furthest I had gone, which gave me plenty of time to listen to a podcast. And I'm sitting there listening to a podcast, Diary of a CEO, and Mr. Beast was on it. And I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Beast, but he's the biggest YouTuber of all time. He's accomplished more than anybody, and he didn't just start young. He started young and he hit it hard. He was ingenious in the way he'd go about doing things and captivating people's attention, and he never stopped. He never took his foot off the pedal. And I'm sitting here listening to this. I'm on this long run and soaking in the words of what he's saying. And he's talking about how whenever he was young, all he would think about was doing YouTube. That was the most important thing to him, and all of the hardships that he overcame in order to make that happen. He has sicknesses that he's overcome and stuff like that. And to let you guys into my life a little bit, I remember when YouTube came out a long time ago, back when I was either in like middle school or early high school. And I remember sitting in my computer class and we were watching videos like Charlie the Unicorn, then the Charlie Bit My Finger video, a lot of Charlie videos, it sounds like. But I remember those original YouTube days. I remember the days before YouTube, and I remember seeing the rise of the people that would start creating content on YouTube. And I'd always told myself I wanted to do that. And it's stuck with me ever since. And so I've gone through my life having this desire to be a YouTuber, but I'm also living my life out of alignment with that. And so here I am, 33 years old. I don't remember the exact time that YouTube came out, but let's say 2004. Let's say 2005. So 20 years ago, YouTube came out. And then even on top of that, Mr. Beast, he only started, I think, back in like 2014 or 2013 making YouTube content. So 10 to 12 years ago, that's how long he's been doing it. And as I'm sitting here running on this treadmill, being really bad at running in general, I'm thinking about and I'm kind of wallowing in my own story and reflecting on what I could have been if I would have stuck the course like Mr. Beast, like Jimmy. That's his name. Sometimes it feels weird if people don't know who Mr. Beast is, referring to somebody as Mr. Beast. That kind of could sound funny, but his name's Jimmy. And I remember being on that treadmill and being really down on myself because I said, if you would have just applied yourself, you wouldn't be in the state of mediocrity that you've now accepted as who you are. You would have the life that you've wanted to live. You would have accomplished the goals and the dreams that you had inside of you ever since 2005. But you didn't do what it takes back then. And so now you suffer the consequences of it now. And I kind of spiraled that night. I ended up coming home and being like, I got to change something in my life. I got to start doing things differently. Because at the same time as I was sad about the fact that time had passed, the beauty of it, if I'm lucky enough, if I continue forward in life safely and healthily, is that I still do have time, that I still will continue to get older and I have time. Just as I missed out on 20 years previous, I now have 20 years now. And I'm fleshing this out afterwards. Like, this was kind of a spiral for myself. And hopefully you're connecting with something in your own life where you've connected with somebody and you've looked up to somebody's work and they've been kind of an idol of yours in a particular industry, and compared yourself and your track record of how you've gone through life with theirs. And you've thought, if only I would have done this, if only I would have stayed the course, if only I would have applied myself and done what I felt like my heart should be doing, I would have reached that point. I would have been like that person. Because success comes to those that are consistent and stay with it, that put in the hard work, because it isn't just a consistency, it's what the fruit of consistency is. And the fruit of consistency is that you learn the industry, you get better, you want more, you put in the reps, and over time you figure out what people like, how you want to do it better. And I guess I'm talking about YouTube. If it's art or something like that, you just keep refining your skill until, more people see it. And I guess that also opens up another door of conversation of what is your goal with what you want to do. Because for me, YouTube is something where a lot of eyes would be on it. A lot of people would be seeing what I create. And there was something in me, better or worse, that kind of liked the idea of that. This is me being very vulnerable and honest with you guys. I'm not trying to sound like all of my goals in life are this beautiful, selfless thing. There was something about being a YouTuber that really appealed to me. And so let's say you're an artist, your goals don't necessarily have to align with how many eyeballs that you can get on something. The eyeballs are kind of a metric of how popular and how much impact you have in the world. But sometimes deviating for what the crowd wants from you isn't the best thing to be doing whenever you're an artist. So little side tangent there, talking about the idea of artistry. But back to my point of YouTube and this kind of long convoluted story where I've branched off and talked about different things throughout it. For me, an audacious move this week would be to accept where I'm at in life and what choices I've made to lead to where I am now, and decide to move forward in spite of that, recognizing this thing that's been in me for decades and doing my best now to make that become a reality, and balancing the life that I still find beautiful amidst still having not achieved that goal. Does that make sense? Because I'm not saying that just because I didn't become a big YouTuber over the last 2 decades, that everything that has happened in between there was for naught, that I don't like my life, that it's all ruined because I didn't become a YouTuber. No, I do love my life. I have many beautiful things in my life, and a big point of this podcast is to balance my dreams with the beauty of the life that I am currently living. So I'm not just going to drop everything and act like Mr. Beast and start creating all of this content, flying all over the world and putting all of my money into it, because that would put my life out of balance. Even in that same podcast, he was saying that most people wouldn't want to live the life that I'm living. They wouldn't want to sacrifice their mental health. They might think that they want to, but they wouldn't want to actually live the life that I'm living because it's not as glamorous as it seems. And I believe him. I don't think he's just blowing smoke. And so I don't want to take the life that I have for granted. I don't want to anxiety-driven turn over the stones, like I said at the beginning of this episode, and move forward through life saying that I must have this in order to be happy. I have to make YouTube content and get to X amount of followers and impact however many people with whatever videos I decide to make in order to be happy. I can see into the future of how that would be toxic, and it's the whole idea of never being satisfied with something, thinking that when you get to the mountaintop that that's going to be where you want to stop, but seeing another mountaintop off in the distance. I don't want to fall into that trap. But what I do know is that this desire has been in me for a long time. I love the life that I'm living, and I have time now, because I'm alive, to make it a reality. And so I'm going to do what I can this week to recommit to this dream of being a YouTuber. And, you know, it's been interesting even on my Stanton Giles YouTube of posting wedding videography tutorials back, whenever I did a lot of wedding videography and posting wedding videos and different things like that, that over the last 4 or 5 years, without trying very hard, has even grown to almost 30,000 subscribers. And so what would happen if I actually put in effort, if I committed to making a YouTube video every week? And I'm not saying that I am necessarily committing to doing that, but I'm recommitting to putting my goal of doing YouTube back into the spotlight. I don't want to keep tacking things on in my life that are just going to make me busy doing a million different things. Like if you've been listening to this podcast for a little bit, I started a microgreens business and we've been working on that. My wife and I'm running a marathon. I did a documentary. I blah, 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 blah. Been doing all these different things, but I want to make sure that I'm not overloading my life and making it chaotic and stressful, because I've been feeling the weight of that a lot lately. I want to make sure that my life is simple and peaceful, but that I give space in my life to listen to what my heart is saying. Listen to those things that have been with me for years and years and years and years. And if I can decipher the ego from myself, if I can decipher the things that I'm trying to do that are going to make me feel like I'm something just because I did them, between those things that I feel like I'm actually called to doing because it's a part of who I am and there's a reason that there's something in me drawing me to do that. If I can do that more and more, then I think that it's a good thing for me to do. I think it's a good thing for me to do more YouTube. And even from the small amount that I've done it, I've seen the impact that it's had on certain people. And so what in your life is something this week that you can recommit to? Something that maybe has been lingering in you for a long time that you just can't shake that thought. Or maybe you did shake the thought a long time ago, but you did it for the wrong reasons. Is there a thought that you've forgotten about, a dream that you've buried that you could potentially unearth and that would get you excited to think about doing again? Is there a step that you could take this week to make that a reality? If so, I ask you to join me in doing the same as I am this week, to stopping, sitting in silence, evaluating day to day who I am, where I've been, why I am the way that I am, where I'm going. Is where I'm going as a product of where I am and where I've been, who I want to become? If not, I'm going to take into stock also who I want to be, change who I am now so that the future version of myself is a product of the action that I took today. That was a long string of little segments of thoughts. So you might need to skip back to think about all of that together again, because it made sense in my head. Hopefully it made sense to you. But I guess I just want to encourage you this week to return to the dream. There's a reason that the dream is there, and forget about the word dream for a second. And maybe use a different word if the word dream seems too far-fetched, if it seems too whimsical, if it seems like something that is typically associated with something that isn't you whenever you're sleeping. Come up with a different word to call it. A buried version of yourself, a calling, a vision of a future version of yourself that is begging you to come to life. I think that's what's happening in me, is something is begging me to come to life, and there's a reason I'm drawn to it. And one day maybe I'll understand if I put the action in, but I'd rather put the action in and fail than have wondered my whole life and never known what would have happened if I wouldn't have taken the action now. And so I'll continue to fight forward amidst who I am and what I've done, and try to become more of who I want to be in this world. But I have to take action to do that. I have to take action amidst my mood. And my mood has been really interesting lately, but I have to push against it. I've been really tired lately. I have to learn to do it tired. Do it tired. I might be tired, but do it tired and do it anyway. That's what I'm telling myself, because a future version of myself will be thankful that I did that. Guys, if you're listening to this episode still, I want to remind you that audacity and taking risk on things in life, it isn't getting rid of the fear. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. It's feeling all of the excuses and the what ifs, and feeling your mood calling you into the comfortability of not doing something and doing it in spite of that. Doing it as an act of rebellion, being a rebel soul against the comfort of this world and who this world has told you to be, balancing the beauty of the world that you are living in and the life that you have made so far, and becoming more of who you want to be amidst that, in the midst of the fear. And it is scary because we don't know who that person is completely. If we were to completely dive into enacting our dreams in this world, who would that version of ourselves be? I don't know. And as weird as it might sound, that is our deepest fear. Our deepest fear isn't, as you might have heard before, inadequacy. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And I encourage you to look up the theories, type it in a ChatGPT as to why. As a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. Why is our deepest fear not inadequacy, but being powerful beyond measure? Because inadequacy is familiar. It's a low ceiling we can understand, control, and hide behind. But power, real power, our full capacity, potential, and brilliance, that comes with responsibility, visibility, and change. If you accept that you're powerful beyond measure, you no longer get to blame your past. You can't play small without knowing it's a choice. You have to face the possibility of failing at full effort, and you become accountable for using that power, your voice, your gifts, your influence. And that's terrifying, because what if people expect more of you? What if you start expecting more of yourself? What if it works? So we stay small, not because we can't be great, but because being great would shatter the safety of who we've always been. Powerful words from ChatGPT, echoing a lot of what we've already talked about in this podcast, particularly in this episode. And so I hope you understand, as kind of like the third tenet of the 1 a.m. club, one audacious move. 1 a.m. also looks like the words I am. You have power beyond measure inside of you. And it's sitting there sleeping and waiting for you to get past the comfortability of what you're doing in life, how you feel like moving forward in life. You can choose. I promise you, you can choose to change your situation. One little tiny audacious move at a time. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm a human just like you, and I encourage you to do the same. You have just as much power as me. I'm just a guy sitting with a camera right here and a microphone attached to my desk in my basement, talking to you about the things that I want to do in my life. And I hope you do the same. If you choose to do the same, I would love to hear from you. DM me on Instagram on One Audacious Move. That's the Instagram handle. Reach out to me if you know me personally. I'd love to know if you're listening to this. I don't know how many people are listening to it. A lot of me doing One Audacious Move is for myself as a reminder that this life is so important. This life is so important and it deserves my attention. When I sit down and I record this week to week, it reminds me to take my life seriously, to slow down, stop, prepare for the episode, think about where I'm at in life. How can I connect with you out there? And then go forth after that, having connected with you, but also with myself, and do what I can amidst who I've been given in this life to become the most powerful version of myself in this world, for myself and for the world. So thank you guys for listening to One Audacious Move again. Appreciate you listening this far. If you have listened this far, I would so appreciate you giving a 5-star review to One Audacious Move. That helps it get out there more, have more bandwidth, have more reach to impact other people to take one audacious move weekly in their life. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be working on recommitting to my dream of becoming a YouTuber and making YouTube content this week. What is your dream that you've been aware of for years that's been nagging at you? Please let me come to life. Please let me be you. Are you going to take it seriously? Or are you going to continue being comfortable with the excuses and the low ceiling that you're living under? Choice is up to you. Thank you guys for listening. See you next week.